we did a sample of using DTF and they liked it. And so we ran it on DTF.
How many pieces was that order?
It was 1,200 pieces.
You ran a 1,200 piece job on on your own DT.
Yeah.
I'm not sure you're as profitable as you could be. And I'm also curious if you should be sharing profit numbers with your team to allow you to be more profitable as well. Now, this is kind of an interesting theory, and this goes along the lines of contribution margin. Something Nick G at printprofit.com has been mentioning quite a bit lately, to be able to help shops price better, but also price a lot more profitably and align the team to making decisions around being more profitable. Contribution margin is something we're going to be talking about a lot more with Kyle at Print My Threads. Print My Threads is a really cool shop over in Flatwoods, Kentucky. And Kyle mentioned how he really used contribution margin to align his shop so much better. They were scaling and scaling, but unprofitably. That may sound pretty familiar. And so we're going to dig into this. It's a really exciting episode, actually. So I appreciate Kyle jumping on. But first, 4 incredible sponsors help put this show on every single week. First up, Easy Way. You know you shouldn't be spending all day cleaning dirty screens. Easy Way's line of environmentally conscious chemicals will get the job done faster and more efficiently, costing you a fraction of the cost per screen. Easy Way works with 100 plus distributors in the States, and they just really help with how-tos, best practices, questions, all of that. They are a partner in your business. So give them a try if you haven't already. Thank you, Easy Way. Next up, Multicraft. Open up your phone and go to multicraft_daddy, follow him and send him a DM. Multicraft screen printing and digital supplies for over 50 years have been providing you with top brands at competitive pricing. If you mention the Printavo pod, you'll get an extra 10% off your first order. Plus, if you DM him on Instagram, he's sending out a case of PMI tape every single week. PMI tape's awesome. We appreciate them. We appreciate you, Multicraft, and thank you for sponsoring the show. Supacolor. Supacolor is the world's best heat transfer. It's made for screen printers, by screen printers, and they truly understand the expectations of running a screen printing business. And that's why they pride themselves on being super fast and super easy. But not only that, they're also partners with you. I mean, these guys will bend over backwards to help you get jobs done. There's issues, fixing it, making things right. Just overall, they are with you in your success. Make sure you use Printavo15, and that'll get you 15% off your order. Last but not least, GraphX Source. If you need a solution to help improve efficiency and reduce costs in your art department, GraphX Source offers industry-leading outsourcing options. I honestly think what's very cool, though, is they plug into your shop management software. I've seen so many Printavo shops using GraphX Source, and they know the statuses to use. They download the art, they upload the digitized or vectorized file. It's all stepped out. They're also able to help with customer service or back office admin, but they've been around for over 30 years. And so they really know and understand shops and their needs. So make sure to mention Printavo-pod for 50% off your first vector, SEP, or embroidery order. All right, let's jump into the episode.
Kyle, you're not at the shop today.
No.
Why aren't you at work?
I figured that less distractions if we did this from home. So,
do you go into the shop every day?
It depends on the season. And I got to a point where I was going in very little. And then we've had some kind of staffing changes and things. So I go in fairly regularly. Also bringing on DTF. I'm still kind of the main operator for that at the moment until we can kind of 100% pass it off. So.
What boat anchor do you have?
Oh, we have the Mamaki. So it's not. Yeah, it's been great.
You're part of the. Okay, this is 2 votes Mamaki. You heard it on the pod. Yeah. Do you have the single head one?
Yeah, so we bought the single head, and then I think when they were installing it, I was like, oh, there's a spot in here for for another print head. How soon is the 2 head come out? They're like, oh, it'll at least be a year before the 2 head comes out, and then 2 months later. Yeah. I think it was maybe a month and a half, 2 months, but they're doing that trade up. So anyway.
Yeah,
we'll see. Yeah.
We have a Mach-E too, and it's working really well. Are you having any issues, or is it doing okay?
I mean, knock on wood, man. It's been very minimal. I actually did a podcast with Adrian the other day. I mean, right before I left for Print Hustlers, like I gave my guys like a 30-minute crash course because we had like 1,200. We had like a run of like 1,200 transfers we needed to get done. And within like 30 minutes, my screen guy, Zach, is actually the one running it because it's very similar workflow to like CTS. So so it's been pretty good, man. I mean, knock on wood, like we are real diligent about keeping like proper temperature and humidity. But other than that, I mean, it's like if we don't get a perfect nozzle check when we fire it up in the morning, we do like a soft clean and then we're good to go.
Bruce, you should see how many times, like if we could ever go on a podcast without saying the word DTF. Can you run some AI on it?
Don't say hiring, we said.
Don't say hiring. Bruce, you should buy a DTF and you should document your journey.
Well, it's just been it's been crazy for us because like honestly, like I wasn't crazy about it and I never thought we'd get into it, and then we got it, and now it's like it seems like we're just feeding more and more stuff to it.
So like what kind of stuff? Are you doing the print on demand too?
We're not printing for other people, and we're not doing we will use it for a few stores, but like the jobs that we've been throwing at it is just like we have this client that needed 1,200 sweatshirts and they wanted this like Christmas tree that looked like it was painted with a watercolor. And so like we could have screen printed it and it would have been like maybe a 9-10 color sim process job. But like we did a sample using DTF and they liked it, and so we ran it on DTF.
How many pieces was that order?
It was 1,200 pieces. Yeah.
You ran a 1,200 piece job on on your own DT.
Yeah.
How long did the printer run?
So we ran it like, I mean, I think we were averaging like 370-ish of these transfers a day. So we just ran it for like 4 days or 3.5 days. And we just ran that.
Okay. I just want to like dig in it. Did you think through ink consumables and like what it would take to just order the transfer?
Yeah, I mean, we did, but I mean, I guess the way I look at it at this point is it's just like, we've got the machine, we might as well run it. I mean, I really don't think like we have good margins, I mean, we just price everything well. I mean, I think I need to go back and look and see like what we sold those sweatshirts for, but it was going on like those independent French terry crew necks. And I mean, I don't know if we were like 18 a piece or 19 a piece. So like I felt like we had plenty of margin, and that the other part of it is that we're just kind of trying to like, I want to test it a little bit and just kind of see like, work out the workflows and do time studies and see like how long does it take, and how do we get faster on the like production end of heat pressing and that kind of thing.
What'd you learn from that job then?
I learned that the film that we'd been using prior was not a true hot peel, and this was, and so that made it all the difference.
Big time.
And which is crazy because it's like we're just ordering the exact same stuff from DTF Superstore. So, I mentioned that on Adrian's podcast. It's like we gotta make sure that if we're trying so hard on our end to control the variables, we got to make sure that like if we order, we're getting the exact same film every single time from them.
I have a dumpster fire of a story for another day, but we had a gentleman walk into our shop and sell us film and swore by it, and it was really cool. And it was like a hot peel at $270, and it was awesome. And then we were like started to buy it, and then magically they ran out. And then they told our buyer to just buy this other film instead. And I found out 3 months later that we had been using cold peel when we could have just freaking got it. And I'm like, yeah, like buying from them and figuring out what's consistent. I've fallen for some early wholesale or early distributor shams.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that'll be interesting, and I've had some talks with Moses and just about like, everybody's putting that time and energy and attention into like the inks and the powders and the films and just seeing kind of where that goes. But, yeah, I mean, so we'll see, but it's, I don't know. Yeah, it will be very interesting, I think, to see. And it's just the fact that you can train someone so quickly. And we had little issue. I mean, so, I came back and my guys were like, oh, so, hey, so this, like the first 370 transfers got printed on like on a cold peel. And so it was like we have like little tiny registration marks and stuff they were, problematic. And then as soon as we hit the stuff that was hot peel, it was like the issues went away.
At Printhunters Conf, it was a pretty cool panel of different people that, one shop spending $500,000 a year on Supercolor, and then on the other end of the spectrum, you had Steven, who's like a mechanic on the DTF side. Where did you fall? Like, what drug you from one side to the other then?
So, I mean, I think like for us, we have like one client in particular that
is the word drug? Drove
and drug turned into drogue. New vocabulary, Bruce Ackerman. I was like, what the hell did you just say?
Drove you from one side. Why there?
I think like for us, so we had a couple of clients in particular that are pretty picky as far as like color and feel and that kind of thing. And so we started looking at would DTF, work for them. And so we started like ordering in. We were basically sending out the same print files to like multiple different vendors and then getting them back to see like how they compared. And like what we found was that there was like a huge variance in terms of color, feel, everything. And so I kind of quickly made the determination that like if we were gonna, start offering that and standing behind it or whatever, these are retail clients where they expect the same consistent result like again and again and again. So I just knew that if we were going to do it, we were going to have to go all in and figure it out so that we could control like color and cost and turn times and everything in house. So I mean, I had listened to some of the stuff that I listened to your podcast that Steven had or whatever, and so when I knew. At that point, I knew we didn't want to get in, but then when I heard about the Mamaki and just knowing what we knew about DTG and kind of like the same progression it had, I called up Moses and the one client we have, it's this like artist named Charlie Harper, and then we kind of made a connection about that. I guess like his wife's like a big Charlie Harper fan, and anyway, so one thing led to another, and then I bought a Mamaki, and apparently like we landed on the right machine. So.
Well, and yeah, like DTF Superstores, they're doing it right. They are taking a position in support and supplies. Like they've hit this kind of critical scale where they've elevated themselves above others. But the conversations I've had with like their owner, Andy, is like when you're starting to cater now to enterprise, like I kind of was like us kind of shops, we are lunatics about things that maybe a hobbyist might not care about.
Right.
Like, and like, I was like, the level of service, it just kind of has to change and elevate because downtime to us is thousands of dollars that we like just can't afford to do. And so it's like, if you're going to support and move upstream, because DTF Superstore really like they started with probably more garage shops and hobbyists and are now starting to move into enterprise. It's like, you have to make sure that the level of support, quality, ship dates, we operate on a different level. And I think a lot of people getting into the space think they know how crazy we are. And then they're like, oh, like they are intense about their stuff. So I think that's really, really interesting. Cool.
Is that your niche? Like artists and more retail? I was just Googling Charlie Harper and a lot comes up, but I didn't.
Well, yeah. Our niche, honestly, like that we're really trying to push towards is more healthcare. The Charlie Harper story is like a little bit different. Like so like my wife and I came across like one of Charlie Harper's posters when we were down in Costa Rica and got back to the States and then Googled him and found out that he was like based out of Cincinnati. And so we were like big fans of his, and he had passed away, I think maybe a year or two before we, found out about him. But at the time you could still go to Cincinnati and like tour his house. He had like a home-based like art studio and things. And so we went up there and toured his studio when my wife was pregnant with our second son. And we actually named him Harper after Charlie Harper. And then Harper quickly became like one of the most popular girl names out there. So, but anyway, so we kind of have this connection. And then at some point they decided to start offering apparel. And when they did that, like I reached out and kind of told them, I said like, hey, we're huge fans. Like I'd love an opportunity to work with you all. And so like we got that account and
there we go. That's the best cold outreach right there. So personalized, tailored. You guys are a true fan.
Yeah.
And you got the job.
Yeah.
Kyle, I'm and printedmythreads.com. First of all, you have an awesome website. It's like really,
top
really
10 actually website.
done.
Please go to printmythreads.com.
Did you build it or did you hire someone to do it?
So we've got a guy that we worked with in the industry that helped us build this out, and he did a great job. He's actually like, I guess I probably won't call him out because I think he ended up getting like in a little bit of trouble for it. He worked for one of like the industry like production management softwares and helped us sort of build like a custom thing that we've run on. Basically, like what we did is we took Airtable and built out a tool to kind of like run our shop off of, and then once we had that, it was like, okay, so we're like tracking all these things. And so we wanted to build out sort of like when you go to papajohns.com and you can see like, ready, making, baking, ready for pickup kind of thing, like for a customer portal. So we took our production management tool and then made like a customer facing portal. Cause we do work with a lot of retailers that might have like anywhere from 13 to 15 orders going with us at a time. Mm-hmm. And so that way, they've got like one central place where they can log in and they can see the status of every order, or they can approve things, they can pay for things, that kind of.
So all of this is custom.
Mm-hmm.
Dang.
Yeah. But
go ahead.
problem, I was gonna say the problem is that guy is now like when he kind of like his situation changed within the industry, like he's no longer in the industry, he's working a different job. So like now like our support's and has pretty much gone away. So like our tool is stable, but we're actually like looking at Printavo and like other industry solutions because like there's going to come a day like when APIs or whatever change and things start to break, and then I'm worried that like we won't be able to fix it. So it's tricky. I mean, it works great for us right now, and it's super stable. But I'm trying to think like 3-5 years down the road, like.
It's a beautiful site
you're secretly protecting him so no one reaches out to you asking for his name.
Well, no, I would love it. I mean, I would love it if he would I think, do this more.
Yeah,
I just,
but
cool. I mean, this site's sick. Is this WordPress?
And it actually,
the front end?
No, it's Netlify.
Oh.
Or I think, and it used to, honestly, we had like at one point we had a, custom quote tool and you could build out your own order and everything. We actually went away from that because we just found that it was like almost too accessible. And like, we weren't able to get the same kind of margin we wanted on every single job. Cause we're just not set up to like go the like real volume approach. Like we've really like, use that 80-20 to kind of like find our niche and like our customers that we can make a lot of money off of. And then like got kind of ruthless about like firing off all of our customers that like we weren't making the kind of margins on. And so
you are speaking that's some Sunday service. Okay. We're going to go there.
Yeah.
Wait, can I ask Stephen just one quick question on healthcare? What do you mean by you wanted to dive into healthcare? Is that target niche like uniforms or I don't know. What is healthcare?
Are you asking me or Steven?
Yeah. You, Kyle.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean,
I'm not in healthcare.
So in our area, so we're in a pretty rural area, right? Like it's Appalachia, and one of the major employers and like one of the major industries in our area is healthcare. Right. So like the fact of the matter is we have kind of like a lot of unhealthy people throughout the region. And so like healthcare is like kind of a big, industry. And so we work with one of the local hospitals and, a couple of regional hospitals. And it's just like one of those industries where it's like completely recession proof. So like, during COVID, I mean, it kept us going. And then we've just been able to figure out like ways to add value to those hospital systems to where like they just keep giving us more and more business. The one main hospital has it set up so that like instead of wearing a scrub top, their employees can wear t-shirts. And it's like every single month is like a different cancer month, right? So you've got like breast cancer, colon cancer, every single month is like a different awareness. And so we basically have it set up to where the marketing department, they run like these internal employee stores. And so the other big part of it is that the employees can buy these t-shirts and it's all payroll deduct. So it's like magic money. And so it's like,
did you start a cancer shirt of the month club?
I have, no, we have not, but like, I have like,
don't let Steven put you on your back foot like that.
No, but I mean, like I've actually pitched that to him because it's literally like it's every month they have something, right? And so they do these internal stores. And so like one of the issues that they ran into is that like before COVID, they would do these internal stores and they would sell somewhere between 3,000 to 5,000 t-shirts. And then like they were like trying to manage like folding and distributing the t-shirts like in-house.
Yeah.
And so like they were trying to work with volunteers. And so they'd be like bussing in like, convicts or, whoever to like help with these t-shirts. And then, but then they'd have to feed them or they wouldn't show up and it was just this nightmare. And so then they had like, marketing directors and VPs of the hospital, like folding and distributing t-shirts. Right. And so it was just like
how bad they are at
it. We need all hands on deck. Like, we're missing 2 larges.
We got a code t-shirt.
Unbag everything and redo it.
No. So, I mean, so it was like this total shit show. And so like, as we had these conversations and like started like figuring out like really where the need was, it's so much more about like all the logistics than it is about t-shirts. And so like we help
you're solving problems.
Systems.
It's like you say, Steven, it's like you're solving problems and the t-shirts are the bridge to it.
Just the byproduct. Yeah. The byproduct of it.
Absolutely.
Wait, okay. So you talked about firing your customers. If you were to like, how much of your business, share if you want, is healthcare related? Like if you could give it a percentage.
I would say like right now, like probably 80%, like, which is a little scary. Yeah. Like it's a little scary. I mean, our biggest thing right now is that like, we're honestly getting to the point where that's one of the big, like concerns or liabilities is just like, we've gotten so far kind of in bed with like a few of these healthcare providers that like, if something were to change or go away, but one of the things that happened with us is that, the one hospital, that we do so much business with, they were bought out by the University of Kentucky healthcare system. And so when that happened, they required all of the vendors to go through like this really extensive like RFP process. And so we did that. And I think like we still haven't heard anything like 100% for sure yet. But I think basically what that process did is that the hospital like to kind of like share the love. And so they give us the majority of the business, but they're still using like a few other vendors here and there. And I think a lot of those smaller vendors are basically just going to like kind of go by the wayside because of that RFP process. So
if you can go through an audit, we're going through a Sumera audit right now for licensing. It's brutal to go through. And it's kind of terrifying, but if you can get through it, then you have so much more protection and a leg up on competitors. So like, I know everyone like dreads that kind of stuff, but you actually can become the de facto, and then that university system can actually look at you and say, actually, like we have to go through them. They're our approved vendor. Right. We're learning about that in the licensing space. That's a pretty cool lesson. Okay. So, something interesting on the last day of Print Hustlers, Nick G, I can't pronounce Nick's last name, Nick G, print profit guru, gave a talk on his model of profitability. And there was this whole concept about contribution margin. If you want to learn about it, there is some episodes that he's done and some stuff. We can throw some links in. But you spoke up about it. And you said that there were a lot of things that you do in your business to track profitability and share with the employees, or have bonuses and incentives and structures. And when you said that, I was like, damn, that's like, I've heard about people doing it, but it's really hard to do. Can you talk about, maybe we dive into this a little bit and break it down, but like, how do you think about profit? Like, walk us through this journey, and maybe we can pick
before where you were at before.
Yeah. Like let's pick this journey apart a little bit, and maybe we can kind of drill you on how you're doing it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think for us, like a lot of it started with, I mean, we got the business to the point where we were growing our revenue and adding employees and adding equipment. And it was like, literally, just one of those things, like our revenue was like this, and then our overhead was like this. And it was just kind of like, you guys spoke to that a little bit, I think, in the podcast that I listened to yesterday, like the recap on Print Hustlers, right? So I think a lot of shops in our industry do that. It's all about more and more like driving revenue, driving sales. But, we're in this crazy industry where it's like, unless you're going to outsource it, everything you sell, you have to figure out how to produce. So, we got to the point, I hired like a local business coach, and he put me in touch with this, his name's Tyler, and he's like a local, he's a fractional CFO, but he's actually local to us. And so like Tyler, he had gone off to California and was like a financial controller for like a big company out there. And then he got to the point where he wanted to like, come home and then like, do his own thing. So, Tyler's this fractional CFO that works for, as in that position for multiple different companies. So between the two of them, we kind of came in and we got like real, like, took a look at the business. We had, tons of aging AR. And we just, we were just, the cat was kind of wagging, or what do they say? The tail was wagging the head or whatever. I don't know. So it was just out of control. And so we got like, real intentional about, using like the 80-20 rule, figuring out like where we, where was the business, bleeding money, where are we making money kind of a thing. We also got into Mark Coudre's program. So that, that was really helpful. But yeah, so I think the first thing for us was, getting our aging AR under control. And so
what kind of broke the camel's back though on this? Like, was it,
what pushed you
a
to do
year
that?
end thing? And it was like, shit,
it was like a year end thing. It was like, people, it was just cash flow, right? I mean, you have to have good cash flow. And so like, our cash flow is hurting. And then you look at your aging AR and it's like, that's where all your cash is. It's like in customers that haven't paid you.
Accounts deceivable, I think is what Mark says. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just one of those things where, I mean, it was really like a necessity. And then I think the other thing too, is it's just like, I think I got to the point where like I was getting like really burned out and really stressed out. And I kind of got to a breaking point where it's like, look, if we're going to like work this hard and be this crazy, and we can't afford to like, and I can't afford to like make the money I want to make, and I can't afford to like pay my people what they deserve to make, then like, why are we doing it? Right. Like,
what year was this?
I want to say this was probably back in like, probably like 2014, 2015, maybe.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a while ago.
So
Can
you got
share
a hold
like
of it
roughly like revenue or size wise you were at that time?
I think we were probably like approaching $1 million in revenue. Like we probably weren't quite to $1 million in revenue at that point. Yeah.
And that's that's the hamster wheel, right? Like you've gotten the business to $1 million. Crap. We're probably making more money when we're doing 700K. Don't have systems, processes in place. Everything's going crazy. I'm selling more, but this feels like hell. I feel like that's a breaking point for a lot of shop owners. But I think there's something you did there is like you went out and found help. Fractional CFO is not cheap. What did you have to pay for maybe like first year for like really like for Tyler? Because it sounds like Tyler was an influential person to you.
Yeah, he has been. And I mean, I think like, and honestly, I think the timing was right in the sense that I think Tyler had just kind of started this model. And so I think that like we probably get a better deal than what he charges now. But I mean, just full transparency. And if he doesn't like this, we can edit it out or whatever. But we pay like $2,000 a month for Tyler.
Mm-hmm.
But that includes, and then, the way he works is it's like all of the, bookkeepers and CPAs and people who'd worked before, it was like very transactional. Like every time you called them, you felt like you were getting billed every email. And I really don't like to work that way. And it was problematic because it was like we had questions and then we didn't feel like we could ask because we were trying not to,
Does he run your AR and like your ledger and like, or do you take things then and pass them off to him?
So like it's evolved. So like my sister-in-law, Bridget, works for us now, and she's our accounts manager, but she's almost like our COO, and she works remotely, but she's, really good, super smart. And so, we kind of have like Bridget really works on like on the aging AR and accounts management and the invoicing and, handles a lot of the bookkeeping. And then we meet with Tyler weekly and like, they true everything up in QuickBooks Online. And then, he does our monthly financials. He like we do like the profit first distributions, like for our bank accounts. So like he manages that. He does our year-end taxes, obviously. And then like if we have like special projects, like for instance, like we've done, we got like a USDA grant to put like solar on our building. So when we do bigger projects like that, like he helps with that. Or if we're, any kind of like financing or anything like that, he'll help with those types of projects.
Okay. Looking back, what is that worth to you now? Meaning, like, I think that shops undervalue a really good finance person, and they try to get it for cheap, and then they like play hopscotch between bookkeeping companies. I had a big light bulb, but I'll share it in a sec. But like, how much would you pay for him now? Like, what, like, yeah, if you were to look at it back, like how many millions or hundreds of thousands of dollars has he made or saved you? Like, do you even quantify it? How do you think through what his value was to you?
I mean, well, yeah, Nick and I kind of had this conversation yesterday because I think and I put him in touch with Tyler because I think like in our industry, to your point, I think people are really cheap, and I just don't think that a lot of times like these smaller shops, like, when I say smaller shops, I'm including myself, right? Like our mid-sized shops, I think it's hard to like want to spend that money, but you have to look at it. Yeah. From the standpoint, the light bulb has to go off. It's like, it can save you so much money and it can help you grow the business. And, it's, to me, it's like, I guess the analogy is like for the solar panels, right? Like before you put solar panels on the building, you have to make sure that like your building is really energy efficient. So you want to make sure you've got like LED lighting and like really good insulation. And so like from the financial standpoint, I think like before you can do a profit share and before you can, do a lot of these things, like you have to have someone like a Tyler who can help you like get your, shit straight and like really like make sure everything's clean and like running properly. And then it like positions you to then like make these really good decisions. And, that's the way Tyler works. Like his model is kind of like, he knows like when he takes on a new client that like he's going to invest heavily like on the front end to get everything like the chart of accounts and everything like really dialed and set up. And then he kind of like works to automate all of those different parts of the business. And so I think like, I think that there's been times where Tyler probably felt like he was undercompensated, and then there's been times where we felt like he's overcompensated. So it all kind of like works out,
Yeah.
What size would you have hired him? Because it sounds like it was a bit late, around $1 million. Like, was it more appropriate 500,000? Is that too soon? 700?
I don't think so. And I think that's the thing too, is like if you find the right person. I mean, I think the most like the way we work with Tyler is like it's contractual, right? So like we just we build out like a list of like, here's what you're going to do, and then like here's what we're going to pay, and then like everybody has to be like comfortable with that, And I feel like, and then we'll revisit that like every 6 months or a year, because like for instance, I mean, a lot of the stuff that Bridget now does, Tyler used to do. And so like, she's been able to take that off of his plate, but then like, so we've added other things onto his plate, and so it's just this, I think that it's just, you got to find the right person. You got to have like really good open communication about it. And then,
but if you were consulting a shop, that was growing, let's say they were at 250, right? Hiring the first person or two there. And you were saying, okay, you're coming up on X dollars, whether 500 or 700 that next year. Like, let's get this fractional CFO, just meet people and so you can get ready to do that in a year. Like, what would that number be, do you think?
Like what number in sales? Yeah. I mean, I think that like, if you're, $500,000 or more, I mean, I think you better make sure that you're, you understand your financials, and it's like, I think even when it comes to like, things like payroll taxes or whatever, right? It's like, if you make one mistake on something like that, like the amount you pay in penalties and fees can be the same amount as what you're going to pay someone to help make sure that it's done right.
I feel like all of these key hires are a lot sooner than I think, or anyone really appreciates, until you swing way past it. And then you're like, Jesus, I am so overdue.
Yeah.
Steven,
like there was 1 year that like we like, I was gonna say there's 1 year that like, like again, we're in a small town. So they send you like your tangible property taxes on this like little like note card in the mail. And like, we missed it, and we didn't pay it. And it's not cause like we didn't have the money, but like it got, and then next thing we know, we like got a letter from like an attorney saying that, hey, we now owe like your property and you're going to have to pay us this, this, and this, or like we can, you know what I mean? Like we can take over your building. So, it's like, so like little things like that. It's like, yeah, how much is like having a financial person worth to like make sure that kind of stuff doesn't happen?
Farag, what was your story?
Bruce, you saw Campus Ink before our CFO and after our CFO.
Yeah.
Curious from your perspective, what I mean, you know a ton about our business. You've worked with he's a really good friend of ours. What did you see?
I mean, number one, obviously you staying up till 3 a.m., like texting and like moving models and Excel sheets around and trying to estimate things, to not having to do that, which is cool to see. But I also see like, maybe this is reading between the lines, but it feels like your CFO is sort of your bowling lane guardrails, where you're just bowling, you're bowling and bowling, but like maybe there's some gutter balls, maybe there's some strikes and everything in between. And then he's just like, nah, here we go. We're running through here. And he's a killer. Like he's very professional and like super good and knows his stuff. Now that's just from the outside. So
and I
you
mean,
got to go deeper on that.
Yeah. When we kind of bounced around with some different firms and tried some different things. And we started kind of getting to this critical point where, oh my gosh, we're taking in $1 million of investments. I'm supposed to figure out how to spend it and not run out of money in time, like in a certain window of time. And when he came in, he probably spent 3 months just cleaning and just like organizing, and like it was kind of embarrassing, honestly. And I'd be like, dude, don't judge me for that. Like that's how, yep, we put that there. Yep. And he's like, okay, we're going to change this. Okay, we're going to change that. And he's just coming up on a year. And now, Bruce, it's almost like I feel like I'm in like a little like army cannon thing. And he's just like, okay, go. He's like, go. And he'll be like, okay, we're spending on this, and like pedal down. And he will just give me the confidence and the transparency to say, yep, keep doing this, or, ooh, watch out. And to have someone in your business that can do that for you makes the moves that you make so much more deliberate and impactful. And when you actually do something, you do it with confidence instead of this, like, I'm just going to like hope that it works out. And I feel like our industry, we're cheap and we do a lot of just like hope and pray that this is all going to work out. I mean, we got Watson probably 5 years too late. So
the one thing I realized too of us having a CFO,
because you have Stuart too, Bruce,
right? And he's very sharp. He's been around the block, and is the future planning. It's not like, so I think a lot of times we look past and we're like, okay, the bookkeeping, the categorization, like all that stuff. And then we sort of have a rough idea in our mind, and it's not really planned around detailed math. It's like, yeah, I'm going to add like X to each column and then draw it out. And to have a true financial projection and model to align the rest of the business with, as far as, oh, okay, we should hire this person in August. So that means I need to start looking for them, a month or two before. Oh, okay. So we can look at investing in this piece of equipment or this space or this party for the team or whatever. That is a lot of mental load off of my head and, now our new CEO's head, of just not even having to think about that stuff and ask questions and get answers back. So that was really underappreciated.
Yeah. Bruce, you even said something there, like the holiday party. Are we going to buy this equipment? Are we going to hire an employee? Like there's so many little things that we as business owners make and decisions we make every day without thinking through it.
And it's reactive versus proactive decisions on that.
And then once you've made the decision in your head, like I'm going to have a holiday party and it's going to be $3,000, you're not pulling that back, right?
You're like, what was that based off of?
I don't know. I think we got it. I took my whole team to Vegas last year. Watson started like right before it. And so I was like, the jelly's left the donut, we're going. And this year I've had to make some disappointing decisions of like, hey guys, sorry.
The jelly has left the donut, boys.
The jelly's left the donut. All right, Kyle, what do you got?
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, so it's interesting. And I think I agree with everything you guys said. I think, the other thing that hiring someone like that does is like, as like the business owner or the CEO of the company, like it helps educate you so that, you know what I mean? So it's like you have that person, right? But like, then like by working with that person, like I understand my finances like so much better. right? Like when we started this process, like I didn't know how to read a P&L sheet. I didn't understand a balance, like you don't understand those reports and those things and those metrics. And so it's not something that I think that, it's not an overnight fix, but you've got to start that process and you've got to educate yourself because, otherwise you're just going to like stay on that rat wheel and you're just going to be working more and more and, printing for pennies. But yeah. And then to your point about like taking everybody to the show, like we just did that. Right. And so like kind of maybe bringing it back, you guys were asking about the profit share. Like one of the things that I hear about in our industry, like so often is that, to the presentation about like how to save seconds or 2-second lean and, you get the efficiency and all these things. Right. But then the question is, okay, so we understand how we're supposed to do that, but then how do you get buy-in from your staff or your employees? And to me, like that's where the profit share comes in. So, kind of going back to what we were talking about before is it's like, step one is get your finances in order. Step two is like, if you can, then once you have everything and you understand your financials really well, then if you can build out a profit share, like that then begins driving employee behavior and making sure that you can kind of like maintain that. Right. You always hear shop owners say like, oh, like I wish my employees would take more ownership in like what they do or like, and like, again, so I mean, like if you can, I think one of the comments I made at the show is like knowing your finances and putting that profit share in place. And then it allows you to become like more transparent with like the business finances, which I think is like super healthy and we need to do more of. I think,
what do you share with the team?
So like, well, like I'll share revenue we share like what our net operating income is. Right. So like, well, the way we do it is a little bit different than Nick. Like he talks about a lot about contribution margin, but like we work off of like operating income. So operating income is, basically your profit after like, all your expenses. And so, operating income is like a big number for us because that's basically kind of telling us like, okay, after everything's been paid for, like except for taxes and depreciation, right? Mm-hmm. Everything else, then this is what we're like making. And I think like when we started this, I was asking my wife last night, like I was trying to remember back, like when we first started this, like what our operating income was. And like, it might've been 4%, it might've been 8%. Like, I'm not quite sure. Right. Mm-hmm. But like, if your operating income is like 4%, I mean, right now you can take your money and put it in like a money market account and be getting 5% interest on it for like nothing. Right. So like if you're, so
you're working for free.
Right. I mean, like Bruce, you brought that up. Like you were talking about how like, this is the data you guys pulled from Printavo and like people are increasing their prices by like 1% a year. Mm-hmm. Right.
So like the average. Yeah.
Yeah. So if that's the average and like, what has inflation been over the last couple of years? Like 3 to 5%?
Excluding the last 2 years, it was about 2 to 2.5% a year.
So if you're at 2 to 2.5% a year, and on average shops are raising their price 1% a year, they're losing 1.5%.
Right.
Like just right across, like just right off the top.
Exactly.
So that's crazy. Like, and like why?
Yeah, that's when I discovered that data. I also thought that was good. And by the way, Kyle's referencing a chart that we put up that we looked at the data from essentially like January 2014 up into about March 2020, which is when the pandemic started, and the average price of an order value increased every year about 1%. And so now that's across a few thousand shops. And you could also argue that, we don't sell to mega 15, 20 auto shops or whatever. So I'm not sure exactly what they're doing, but yeah, I mean, on average, 1% a year. And so that was a little bit mind boggling. And then after COVID, it jumped up 17% a year, then 11% a year, and then back down to 1% a year. And yeah, to your point, if you just take the annual inflation minus that increase, essentially you lose X percent in money, in revenue. It's like having money sitting in just a checking account, not earning any type of interest. I mean, you lose a little bit of value every single year.
So, yeah. So, I mean, to me, I think that's the main thing, right? Is I think like and those are the types of things that I don't think that you quite understand until you kind of like start down the road of like, hiring a professional and like kind of looking at all of these different things.
And you take
Like,
you share that net operating income. How does that funnel to the staff where you talk about, bonuses or what they're thinking about to help you drive that goal?
So yeah, I mean, the way so when we first started out, like the profit share, we set it up to where we weren't actually as transparent about it because we were still kind of trying to figure it out and make sure that we had like our numbers dialed. And so the very first few profit shares we paid out, it was like a percent of it was based off of a percentage of payroll. So like if you made more money, then you got more of the profit share. And like what we've actually kind of like now, like what we've more settled on is that it's just a straight, like if there's a $10,000 profit at the end of the quarter, like that's going to get split evenly among all of the staff. And the reason, again, a reason why we decided to do that is just so we could be like more transparent with it. Because like, the whole idea to me for the profit share is like to drive those behaviors, drive that culture. And if you can't explain it and people can't wrap their heads around it, then like it kind of like loses its purpose. And like, I don't do it to like dangle a carrot in front of somebody's head, but like some of the same things that we've seen is that, right, is this like, when we look at like hiring somebody new or like buying a new piece of equipment, like the conversation always goes to like my production staff, like look at it from a standpoint of like, well, like, do we need that extra help? Because if we bring on one additional person, like that profit is going to, it's like what
gets squeezed.
Right.
And is it transparent at all times? Like, does the employees, and is it all employees or just a select few?
I mean, it's so, Bridget and I look at the numbers all the time. We pretty much show it to them like once a quarter. I mean, what we'll do is at the end of the quarter, we say like, okay, so here's what the business, like here's what the operating income was. And then we take 10% of that and then we split it among, evenly among the employees. So I would like to get it to where it's like more almost like a KPI like type dashboard, but that's kind of tricky because again, it's like, what Tyler does we could maybe do it on a monthly basis where like each month when he has our monthly end financials, we could show it at the end of each month, but you wouldn't want to like necessarily show it on a daily basis because it's not necessarily going to be accurate.
Right. You refining this program probably didn't happen overnight. It's really hard to pull off. What mistakes did you guys make along the way? Do you have any like scars, bruises, scabs from it?
I mean, I think initially, there's certainly been times when like, like a transaction, didn't get reported properly or like the timing was off. Like sometimes that's where like we do it quarterly because like, for instance, let's say that you have a job that hits like towards the end of the month and like you purchase all of the shirts for it, but like you haven't quite, based on the timing, like things can show like a lot more profit initially and then it comes back. So I think by us doing it quarterly, that kind of helps compensate for some of those differences and it kind of like makes it more even Steven. But I think that, and then I think, when we first started doing it, it was always this question of like, well, so do we do like 10% of net operating income, or do we do 7%, or do we do 5%? And I think that's something that we still kind of struggle with a little bit from the standpoint of like, so again, like where we've worked this system and we've gotten the business really profitable. One of the things we're looking at right now is like, so do we just increase everybody's hourly pay a little bit, more, and then, which means that then like probably then they won't make as much in the profit share.
Yeah. But I think the cool part is you said it, you're creating good habits and you're creating the right activity and you're getting them bought into making your business money, which I don't know if a lot of employees care how much the owners make or anything like that. Now, do the employees
pay out of that too, though? Like before
you have to pay yourself first,
down,
right?
Yeah. So, I'm on payroll and then, the kind of the way we've been running it is so, we'll take that operating income, right? So kind of going back to that profit first model, which we try to run. So 10% of the operating income gets split evenly among the staff. And then like, I'll take 10% of the operating income as an owner's draw. And then so that's 20%. And then the other 80% just stays in the business.
Gotcha. So there's never a sense of like greed. Do you ever feel like employees ever get hostile about it or greedy about it or selfish about it or issues like, why are you making so much and we're just making this? Like, I just feel like, and I've heard about, things happening in our industry right now.
Right.
Do you ever feel like they're going to turn against you?
I mean, I guess that's always a kind of a concern, but I think it goes back to what I was saying before, is that I think that probably, the one thing that was talked about at Print Hustlers, like, I wonder if how much of that is because there's not enough transparency in that business about where the money goes, right? Because I think that like a lot of that is driven by, especially as these businesses get larger, you approach 5 million, 10 million, right? You have all these employees, they see that top line revenue and they just think that you're just rolling, they're like this, like Scrooge McDuck, like swimming in his money. And it's like, so I think that's the thing. I think what we found is the more educational and transparent we can be with our staff, as far as like, we got really into the numbers at one point. We knew like what it cost us, like per hour to be open and per day to be open, and we like shared that with our staff to show them like, look, so like, if we're open and you guys are here and like, we're not producing work, then this is what it costs. And so one of the other things cool about the profit share is that like, if we have a day where like, we don't really have enough to run a full day of production, like we'll just call everybody off. And they're okay with it because they know that like they'll see more of that money in the profit share. And
how many employees are participating in this?
So we have 7 employees in it. So like we're not like a huge shop,
but it's substantial to them. Like it's not like this is a couple $100 bonus every quarter. Like what would a typical earnout look like?
So I mean, we're seasonal. Let me see, I brought that up. So like the first quarter, I think each employee got just over $1,000 for the quarter. And then our second quarter, each employee got almost $2,200.
Wow.
So sorry, that was the second and the third quarter. So like, we're seasonally slow first quarter, and then the fourth quarter where we have like a lot of like year-end expenses and stuff, it's not always as great. But yeah, the second quarter is typically pretty good, and then the third quarter is like always great.
But
the third quarter, it was like $4 and it was like $4.20 some cents an hour on top of their regular pay.
I mean, an employee that makes an extra $4,000, that's to an hourly employee could be like life changing. So that's really, 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 really cool. And kudos to you for actually pulling it off and carrying it out. Cause I feel like a lot of shops, like we make this and it sort of works, sometimes doesn't work. So kudos to you for doing that. That's pretty sweet.
Well, thanks. Yeah. It's been hard. And like I said, we constantly are looking at it and tweaking it. And then we added like a SEP IRA last year that is actually going to turn into a 401k this year. And then, we look at it too. Like our staff accrues like paid time off. So like for every hour they work, they get like 0.05 hours of PTO. And then we also like added like sick pay, or we call it wellness pay. And then we have like a time, like, so we get really seasonally slow, like the week, like right around Christmas and New Year's. And so it used to be this thing where like we would shut the shop down and then people would have to use like their comp time or their paid time off or whatever to cover that. And we realized that was like really stressful. And then like people were trying to like build their time up and like not, go see the doctor or use times during the year. So we basically just said, okay, so we're just going to pay for those 2 weeks. Everybody gets those 2 weeks paid off during Christmas and New Year's. So like we've done a lot. And I mean, it's like, that's the thing is, right, is it's like, you do hear these grumblings of like, oh, I can't find good people or I can't get good people. But like, so like we try to get out in front of that and like we offer like a lot and it's resulted in us like
retention.
It's
so expensive to try to replace someone that's really good.
But you can't do any of these things unless you have a really good financial model and financial systems and routines and habits and all those things. It's not like you can just flip a switch and turn this on. It took years to develop this. But I think what I'm hearing is now that you've kind of gone through a couple iterations of it, now you're talking about 401k, employee benefits, doing something crazy like, hey, we're going to just shut the place down and pay everyone for 2 weeks. There's a lot of companies out there that you hear, oh, like this company does this for these employees or they do this. that's the CFO saying, hey, we can afford to do that if you want to do that, right? Or we can afford to do this if you want to do that. Because I agree with you. I mean, if, the rule at Campus Ink is like, if I want to be off with my family and everyone else wants, then everyone else should be off. Like that's kind of bullshit that right. I can make that money and an hourly employee can't. So that's super interesting.
The one thing that so we used to do this similarly where we would split 15% of the profit at the end of the year. But it was similar to you, net operating income, because I think it was pre-tax. But the one problem that we had was when we wanted to really invest and we were like, okay, we have a very clear path where we should, hire more engineering. We need to hire some leadership. And then the top line wasn't growing as quickly as the costs were, right? Because we were making that jump up to say, all right, if we make this investment, then in a year or two, like things will swing back later. And people were understandably frustrated because they were used to, splitting that, and that pie got smaller and smaller and smaller as the team grew out.
Bruce, what could you have done looking back?
In hindsight, I would have just budgeted X%. By the way, this is not like this is just like what we went through. I would have budgeted X% of salary as a bonus, like, I don't know, 5% or something like that, and put that into a pie and done that based on performance to them at the end of the year, where that allowed me to help budget for it, regardless of reinvesting back into the growth of the business. So,
because your employees are like, we're fine where we're at. We don't want to do we're good where we're at. And you're like, no, we need to hire engineers and keep growing. And we're not going to see that revenue for a couple of years, right? But like Kyle, you even said sometimes your employees think twice about spending, but are also like motivated. You still run, I think, a TAS. Do you run a TAS?
No, they're RPMs.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have...
Exactly. So an
you
RPM
guys are
is
speaking
like
the language that I'm like, what?
It's like a great...
It's like an old, like they used to be called a rhino. I tell people it's kind of like the bastard child of like if an M&R and a Volt and a Anatol like had a baby. It's like, I don't know. They're great presses. I'm not trying to talk shit about them, but
TAS?
It's not TAS. It's RPM.
I was like, I went to this beautiful website, clicked on the Instagram, started going through it, and I'm like, am I on the wrong Instagram right now?
Dude, our social media sucks. Is that what you're trying to say?
No, you've got this press that no one has seen. It's from it's from left field. So I just got to know, like, do you just have your employees like brainwashed that they could use this thing? Do you really like this press? Should people be buying RPM presses? Do you have the last model?
The problem is I don't know that you can buy them anymore. So the way we got into that was like when we were looking to buy our first automatic, it was like right when Rock had first hit the US. So like Ryonet still had like the western half of the states, and then I think it was called Tech Support Screen Printing Supplies had like the East Coast. And so we were actually like looking at a Rock, but we had to buy through this tech support place. So I actually drove up there because they were going to demo the press for me, and it was like they had just gotten it and installed it, and I got up there and they didn't know how to run it, and I was like, well, this isn't going to work because like I don't know how to run an automatic either. So that kind of killed it for Rock. And then at the time we were outsourcing stuff to a shop out of Wisconsin, and that guy was like, look, he said, we run M&R, but there's this brand of press you should check out. It's called an RPM, and it has like all digital print heads, and like it's like a really great press, and like you're going to get like amazing bang for your buck because like it's a smaller operation kind of thing, And so anyway, I checked it out, and like that's what I went with, and it's been great. And they're amazing presses. They're Polish built, so very similar to like an Anatol. But like
all the press manufacturers, so many come out of Poland.
Yeah,
Anatol, M&R, RPM.
Yeah. So I think it has something to do with like, so in the guy that services and sells them, he's been in the industry forever. Like he has like a history. It's Rick Fuqua, and like he used to work for like Precision and with like, back the Precision ovals and all that. So anyway, he knows his stuff. But
dude, Bruce, we got to get Rick on here. He's in
Indianapolis. I'll reach out.
Rick,
well,
you're listening to this.
If you can get Rick on the phone, let me know, because like I can't get him on the phone. So no, that's the if you get him on the podcast, yeah, I'd love to be on that podcast too, because
you're just gonna pop up as the fourth person. Hi.
Yeah. Hey.
This
Rick.
turns into a sport call.
Remember those parts?
Is there a RPM Facebook group of like RPMs Anonymous of like,
no.
There's a,
no, that's the thing is, it's just like, again, they're really good presses, but I mean, it's literally like, it's almost like a 3-person operation. Like there's a brother in Poland and he like oversees like the building of the presses. They get shipped to Chicago. The other brother does all the electronics, puts it together, installs all the electronics. And then Rick, like, manages like install and service and support. And again,
it's like the Gouthit brothers. Yeah, it's like they offer good support, but yeah.
Well, and Rick typically does too, but he just goes through these phases where it's like you can't get him, and then you get him, and then everything's fine. But like, so
I think we've all worked with a vendor that's like that,
and so it's like, but that's our thing, and like, so I've been talking with Rock, and we've been looking like, do we, at this point, do we get out in front of it, and like, while our equipment's still good and has some resale value, and then like, go with something new, or do we just continue to run? Really, the only thing that ever breaks, or like we'll have issues with, like maybe like the digital. Every print head has like a digital keypad, and so we'll have something go wrong with one of those, or there's like this encoder board. And the problem is that both of those are like very specialized electronic parts that like you can't. I mean, you're not going to get them from like Granger or someplace. So.
You should keep this press and like have Wally keep adding like M&R parts, like have Zach add rock parts, and just like make the like rutabaga like
robot
coolest.
Monster.
Just make the child that you're talking about.
Matt knows about them. I mean, that's the thing is like there's shops in Indianapolis area like that are running like 10, 12 of these, like really big shops. So I mean, they're out there, but. Most people
he's already running a 1,200 hoodie job on heat presses. So
yeah. Okay, this has been fun, Kyle. Thank you for doing this. A lot of really awesome insight. So this is cool. We'll have to do this again.
Yeah, Kyle, truly appreciate the time. Hey, print hustlers, look, next year the tickets are coming out soon. I just saw Brett was in Cleveland, so I know he's looking at venues and finalizing some things. So Print Hustlers Conf 2024, it's going to be exciting. We'll see you all there. This is Kyle Robinson, printmythreads.com. Check out the journey there. Kyle, you are a blast to chat with. Would love to be able to do this again sometime.
Yeah, for sure, man. It was great meeting you guys at Print Hustlers, and looking forward to next year. We'll be able to drive up, I think. So we'll be.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. So we'll be there.
We won't go surfing. We'll find something else to do. All right. Talk to y'all soon.
All right,
Bye.
Man. See ya.
Bye.
Thanks so much for listening. Hopefully that was informative. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to hit the bell for notifications if you enjoyed this video. If you enjoy all the stuff we're putting out, it's really helpful. We love to just be able to see it. That means that we're doing a good job. To subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and hit the like button. And I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.